Hi, you may see I'm wearing a top hat. While we were cleaning up this week, we discovered some top hats at the synagogue that the hierarchy used to wear. It's made me think about the role of head covering, headdress in Judaism generally, and it's got a lot to do with respect. And we know in the Code of Jewish Law it says that the pious don't walk more than 4 cubits without a yarmulke or head covering of some sort. Even the not so observant males will often know that when they come to a synagogue, when they say a blessing, they cover their hair, and there's a role for covering head or hair for the female as well in Jewish tradition. It's a really interesting aspect of being Jewish, and it's often one of the areas that I'm queried on first when we bring groups through the synagogue. The simple reason is that we are acknowledging that there is something above us. But in saying that, people might say, well, there's lots of ways to acknowledge God. Why is it through wearing a yarmulke or a hat that we acknowledge that God is above us? The truth is that in this head covering lies a very important precept, and perhaps one of the biggest differentials between a secular society and Jewish society or a religious society. And when you look at the secular society, you see actually, and quite interestingly, when they want to show respect, they remove their hat or they tip their hat. In Judaism, when you want to show respect, you put on a hat, you put on a yarmulke. And what that's teaching us is something which I think is very powerful. Because what the yarmulke represents is that there is something above us, above our intellect, sitting atop of our brain, atop of our ability to reason. And intellect and reason is a crucial part of the Jewish experience. We study and we plumb the depths of our understanding. And we really work very hard to try and understand the way things are and the way God is and the way God operates. And ultimately, we turn around and we say, there is that which lies beyond our intellect. There is that which we cannot fathom. And we acknowledge that and we admit that and we say there are truths that we will never fully grasp, but that are still true. And I think it's hugely important. When you look at the world, and you talk about great thinkers like Aristotle and Socrates and Plato and the great scientists and those that said, I think and therefore I am, and all the rest of it, that's great. And that's very important. It's important to be a deep thinker. It's important to be a strong thinker. But ultimately, we have to acknowledge, for us to discover the true beauty of what it means to be human, and yet to have the ability to touch the infinite, for have the ability to touch the purity, that which lies beyond. We need to have the humility to admit that our intellect is limited and our ability to reason will always be defined by limitation and by our human constraints. Therefore, one of the most important aspects of being a Jew, placing something above our head and saying there is something beyond my intellect. There is something beyond my reason, and whilst reason is important, there is a part of my service of God, part of my relationship with God, part of my existence in this world where I admit to truths that lie beyond my intellect. And if that's not really the foundation of Judaism, then